Hi, this is Ned Siegfried from Siegfried and Jensen. As proud sponsors of BeliefCast, we hope you are inspired by Todd's weekly podcasts, which contain so many courageous stories of recovery and personal growth. Remember, it's not what happened in the past that matters, it's what happens in the future. We invite you all to work hard and be optimistic about your future. Enjoy today's podcast.
Hey everyone, this is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires BeliefCast. Welcome to the You're OK Mental Fitness Studio. I would like to thank our sponsors, Ned Siegfried, Luke Peterson, and Todd Bradford with Siegfried and Jensen, Mark Richards with Wasatch Recovery, Colby and Mackenzie with Thread Wallets, Drew Peterson with First Digital, Greg Jackson with Mountain West Spine and Orthopedics, and Travis Whitaker, the owner of Living Recovery Interventions. And also, I'd like to give a shout out to Paul Cardall. The music that you hear at the beginning and the ending of these episodes is by Paul Cardall. He's an amazing person, and he's been one of my heroes for years. So thanks to all my sponsors and Paul Cardall for believing in me. I love you guys so much. Please enjoy this next episode. And we're back, everybody. Welcome to the BeliefCast. I'm your host, Todd Sylvester. Thank you for tuning in week after week and sharing these. It's so fantastic to have all your support, and the amazing people I have on here just keeps blowing me away, and the stories that we hear. I'm fortunate because I get to witness them face to face. But you guys are definitely in for a treat today. Today we're joined by Brian Slade. Brian, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. No, he's the author of Cleared Hot, which, if I understand correctly, means that you're ready, you're okay to fire on your target. Is that correct?
Yeah, Cleared Hot is when we've met the criteria to engage.
Okay. And that book is officially going to come out on October 18th, and we'll let you know how you guys can all get that. But a little background on Brian. He's currently serving as a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Air Force, stationed out of Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada as a senior pilot in Combat Search and Rescue Helicopter Unit. Man, that in itself is pretty amazing. You previously taught the CSAR, is that how you say it?
CSAR, Combat Search and Rescue.
Okay.
Yep.
Mission at Kirkland Air Force Base in New Mexico, in the Air Force of New, I don't know how you say this, HH-60W.
Pretty close.
Is that right?
HH-60 whiskey, yeah.
Whiskey, all right. Combat Rescue Helicopter. After deployment in 2007, you transferred to the Air Force and retained to fly rescue helicopters. You served one tour in Operation Iraqi Freedom, then in the OEF based at Kandahar.
Kandahar, Bastion. Did 2 tours there and 2 tours actually in Iraq as well. Yeah.
Right. You have a son named Axel. We were just talking about how cool your last name is, Slade. Yeah. So Axel Slade.
He's got to do something cool.
I mean, man, that guy better be playing electric guitar somewhere. But anyway, the list goes on. But I can't wait for people to hear your story. And Brian sent me the first chapter of his book, and I read through it. He also sent me a video, which we'll talk about, of when his co-pilot got shot in the Apache helicopter through his leg, and the Apache helicopter was in distress itself, and had to do some severe rescue things in there to save your guys' lives. And anyway, I mean, I watched that, dude. My heart was pounding. I was like, man, how intense that was. But anyway, so Brian, why don't we start with, tell us where you grew up and a little bit about your family life.
I'm Hick background. I'm from farmland in Idaho, and I'm one of 8. I'm the oldest of 8.
Really?
I like to say eldest because it sounds neater.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. But probably the least immature of all 8 of us. So eldest, I have to throw that in there. But yeah oldest of 8, and grew up there, but all my family is now in Utah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
They've all migrated.
Did you know at a young age that you wanted to be in like the Air Force or the Army, or did you have those kind of aspirations at that young age?
I think my subconscious knew. I didn't. I wanted to be a vet, but when we played, you play imaginary games, right? I was always like the general and like saying, "Hey, you guys go over here, we go over there," and directing traffic. And so I wasn't playing vet. I was playing Army.
Gotcha. So. Right on. Well, again, I was saying this off the air, but I admire what you do. I admire the things that you have accomplished and put your life in jeopardy for all of us. And I know those might sound just like words, but I really do. It's hard to express the appreciation that I have for people in your position that are willing to do that. It really actually blows my mind.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, you bet. Well, so you wrote this book called Cleared Hot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called Lessons Learned About Life, Love, and Leadership While Flying the Apache Gunship in Afghanistan, and Why I Believe a Prepared Mind Can Prevent PTSD. That's a big, bold statement.
Big title, too.
Big title. Yeah, it's a long tongue twister. But PTSD is what a lot of, vets and people who have gone through a tour and things like that go through.
Right.
And I know you talk a lot about that. So let's maybe just get right into your book. Why did you write this book, and kind of what was the purpose behind it? And what are you trying to accomplish with it?
So the reason I wrote the book, well, first I will say I did not want to write a book.
Okay.
And I'm not an author. I didn't think I could be an author. Right? So, but what happened is I had these experiences. One, you watched one of the videos or whatever, and they're pretty intense, pretty crazy. And I was just grateful to come through it. I was like, man, I'm glad that's done, and my heart's still beating.
Dude, right.
And we're good. And I wasn't the only one having those experiences. Obviously, there's a team out there, and my brothers in arms, brothers and sisters in arms. And as time passed, and even during, I saw that the same trauma was affecting everybody differently, right? Some people were experiencing, if there's a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
From experiencing what I would call post-traumatic stress growth, right? And that's where I feel like I fall more on that spectrum. I feel like I'm a better person because of the things that happened, and I'm grateful for them happening. I'm grateful I'm alive, but they are a large part of the foundation that makes me, right? And then it ranges from that all the way to the other end of the spectrum, where I've had several friends take their lives,
Yeah.
And
Wow.
the most recent one, well, I don't know if it's the most recent one, but one that really kind of shocked me was when we see this, people are like, if you see something, say something, with a lot of different things, right? But one of the guys I knew that was just very charismatic, very, just bigger than life type guy, could joke with him. I like to laugh. He liked to laugh. We would just, and 2 days before he decided to shoot himself, we were doing that.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was like, man, and we were, it's the same trauma.
Yeah.
Similar, right?
Sure.
Same trauma.
Yeah.
Different effects. And so I started to be like, why? Why is that the case? And so I got together with a bunch of mental health professionals and started asking that question.
Asking the question, yeah.
And then we started drilling down what made me, right?
Yeah.
And what did I do that might have helped me benefit from the trauma, whereas other people were struggling with it. And some things you can't teach. I'm one of a family that had a good upbringing. You can't teach that. You either have what you have.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But we did identify 7 principles that you can teach, and I was doing them for other reasons.
Yeah.
But they helped prepare my mind.
Gotcha.
And so that's why I wrote the book.
Yeah, love that. PTSD is a very serious thing, and you hear that a lot. And then, unfortunately, a lot of people get to a point where they end their lives, and that's a very tragic thing. And so, I would imagine, do you ever think about how many lives you could save because you wrote this book? I mean, does your mind ever go there?
The whole reason I did it is because if it's one person that reads it and changes their outlook and now can turn trauma from what would be an obstacle into a foundation that will be a better version of them, right?
Yeah.
That's transforming that trauma into a good thing. If I could do that with one person, then it's a success.
Right.
And honestly, I've had people read it already, and they've made those transformations. So it's already a success. It hasn't printed yet, but to me, it's a success. It's already succeeded.
Yeah.
And if we can get more, then better.
Well, I'll tell you what I've read. I mean, it hit me in the heart right off the get-go. I mean, it was amazing. And so before we get to some of those principles, you've flown over 1,000 combat missions.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm going to ask you a really big question here, but what was the biggest lesson maybe that you learned? I know that's a big one, but I mean, you've flown 1,000 combat missions.
Mm-hmm.
So what were maybe some of the lessons, maybe not I know you've learned many. Is there one that stands out to you?
Laugh. Laugh.
Really?
Life gets serious. You don't even have to try, life will get serious on you. So sometimes you do have to try to laugh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But life will get serious on its own.
For sure.
Every once in a while, you got to try to laugh.
Wow. I mean, I can't argue with that one. You know, and speaking of these combat missions, you shared a video with me. It was about 30 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
Can we describe that to our listeners here for a minute? Because it really was tough to actually listen to. Your co-pilot, as you were flying an Apache helicopter in Afghanistan, is that correct?
It was, yes.
He got shot. The helicopter got shot, but one of the bullets went through his leg,
right.
or lodged in his leg.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear it on there. I mean, it was really tough to listen to. I was like, my gosh, is this guy going to make it? But
he did.
Yeah, he did make it. But will you mind describing that scenario with our listeners? Because I think it'd be really good for them to understand some of the things that you were facing.
Yeah, I mean, we call it developing a situation. We're working with the ground troops, and they're taking fire, but they couldn't really figure out from where. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to work with them and say, okay, where's the Taliban at?
Yeah.
Right. And they finally they had just identified. Look, it's a 120, I think was the bearing. I can't remember. 120 from our position. You're cleared to engage. And so we were rolling in to engage for the first time on that position. We had engaged on other positions earlier that day, but on that position was the first time we were rolling in. And like I said, laugh. Like I don't know if you heard the part at the very beginning. I was joking.
You were no, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, this will be a fun little video, and then all of a sudden it changes.
Yeah, it changed tone real quick.
Yeah.
But that's just the way it was. You know, it was our business. We were about doing our business, but we still, engaged with levity at times. But as soon as that happened, it was basically we rolled in and we just got what's called barrage or curtain fire, and we got hit with multiple rounds of different calibers. Mm-hmm. One round took out my engine. One of my engines. There's two engines, but there's not. The thing with in high temperature locations with a helicopter, one engine is not enough to fly you. So in that video, I ended up having to punch some extra weight to keep flying, right? But we were in a bank, we got hit, and you heard in the video, he starts screaming, and I knew when he's screaming, I know what happened. Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened,
right?
But I know something bad. He's been hit, and he says it.
Yeah, he does.
I've been shot. Yeah. No. And he's screaming, but as funny as it may sound, that was not the most important thing. I had lost my engine and my controls were jammed up, so I had to pause. I didn't respond to him immediately. Yeah. I had the controls were locked up, and there's a mechanical control linkage in the Apache. There's a backup control, but you have to break that linkage, right? So you have to bust it over, and the profile that we were in, if I broke it over and it took immediate effect in the backup controls, we would have snap rolled the helicopter and landed upside down next to the Taliban, which has been a bad place to land.
Bad place to land.
Yeah. And they don't do well upside down.
No. I can imagine.
So I mean, this is all happening in like 1 second, you know? But so I remember breaking it and thinking there is advertised that it will not take effect for 1 second. Right. And so I remember thinking, please work like it says it's going to work.
Yeah.
So I break it over. And it doesn't take, and I'm center back the controls. I found out later the reason they were jammed up is his leg got hit, it shattered his femur, and his leg wrapped around the controls.
You're kidding.
Yeah, it was just hanging by meat, if you will.
Oh, man.
And so that's what locked it up. And so when I did that, you hear him screaming
more. Yeah, I didn't realize that. Oh, my goodness.
That's why, because I just unwrapped his leg, right, and broke it. And I had a feeling that's what it was when it did it.
Yeah.
And something like that. And sure enough, that's what it was. But then we're also losing ground because of the engine being out. So I had to drop the collective, which is what makes us go up and down, and I had to push forward on the cyclic, which makes us go right and left and forward. And so we're diving towards the ground to get airspeed, to make us more efficient. I'm not aerodynamics. We don't need an aerodynamics class,
right.
But made it more efficient so that we could kind of fly out of there. And then I communicate with my wingman, hey, this is what's happening. And then we had to start to administer first aid and try to keep the aircraft in the air and that kind of thing. So,
my goodness,
he did make it. It was a 30-minute flight, which you listened to it.
Oh yeah.
And then it would try and he started fade in and out. And
yeah,
that kind of thing.
He's going in and out, and and again, obviously I couldn't see your face in this video, but listening to you respond back and forth to your ground commands, ground control, how calm you were. I mean, maybe you weren't calm, but you sure sounded like oh, everything's going to be fine. But were you feeling that, or what was going on?
So that's one of the principles that I teach in Cleared Hot is something called chair flying.
Chair flying.
Chair flying,
Let's
right?
get right to it. Chair flying.
So chair flying is what saved my life and saved his life and allowed me to be calm. That's what happened.
Okay.
When I first arrived in country, I didn't know what to expect. So, I only had a few 100 hours when I got there, and I ended up becoming an aircraft commander while I was there.
Wow.
And that's a whole nother story in a chapter
Right.
But anyway, this is towards the end. So I'm a little bit better pilot at the end of this year-long tour than I was initially. But at the beginning, I was like, underwater. I'm like, I'm going into combat and I don't have a lot of hours. So in my head, I'm like, I'm going to start chair flying scenarios. Now, what that means, what does chair flying mean? It sounds like Harry Potter, but it's not. It's basically like if visualization, meditation, and role play had a love child, that would be chair flying. Right?
Okay.
And so I would start with some sort of meditation, and meditation's as unique as a fingerprint. You find what works for you.
Yeah.
For me, I would use some breathing techniques, right, just to get my mind and headspace clear. Right. So I would do some breathing techniques. I've read a couple books on that stuff, and it really does work. Like, It just clears your head, and so I would do that to basically fertilize the soil, and then I would start to visualize an emergency procedure. So when I lost my engine, and when I lost, my flight controls, well, one, at this point in the deployment, it wasn't the first time that happened. But the first time it happened wasn't the first time either because of chair flying. I had visualized it. I had gone through that. I'd gone through it until, physically moving. That's the role play part of it, right? Yeah. So you're visualizing it in your head down to the nth, as detailed as you can get. Right? You go through it that way, and then you add the physical movements to add muscle memory to it, right? Yeah. And then I would go down to what I'm going to say, how I'm going to say it. Sweat drips in my eyes, it starts stinging. What am I going to do with that? Get down to the little nitty gritty. Yeah. And so when it happens, it's not the first time. And I had rehearsed that many, many, many times, that I would stay calm, that I would take a deep breath. You didn't hear it in the video, but I went, and then I talked. And that for the first time. After that, I didn't have to do it again because it was just one reset.
Right. Yeah, wow.
Here we are. This is where we're at. We got to move forward. That's it, right?
Wow.
And so I'd rehearsed that, and basically it made it to where I could do that. Now, you asked, was I... yes, my heart went from like 0 to 2,000, right?
I know it's a dumb question.
Yeah, of course. Of course. But I rehearsed that too. Your heart is going to go through your freaking neck. What are you going to do? Yeah. That's what you're going to do. And then you're going to talk calmly, and you're going to do that. Now, one thing I had never rehearsed is my co-pilot being hit and not me. I had rehearsed me getting hit. Yeah. I had rehearsed both of us getting hit. For some reason, it was never just him. Yeah. Right? And so that was a little bit new, but there was enough similarities that we were able to work through that to what I'd chair flown. Now, what reason it's in the book isn't because it's just a preparatory tool for, physical type things. What I didn't realize is I was preparing my mind as well, which they call stress inoculation. They call it stress inoculation, which is like getting an inoculation or a shot, if you will. Yeah. And so you get a weakened dose of the real sickness. So when the real sickness hits you, you don't have as adverse of an effect. Yeah. Same thing with the stress. So I'd been doing that. And that's part of the reason that they credit me to not having significant PTSD is because I had been giving myself that weakened dose through the visualization. Really? Through the role play. Wow. And so I had already dealt with it. So when the real shit happened or the real stuff happened, you're good. When the real stuff happened, it didn't knock me off my feet. Wow. And so, so we can chair fly all kinds of stuff. Yeah. We can chair fly. I do chair fly. I chair fly difficult conversations. Yeah. Like, and people are like, well, how do you, what about people that have anxiety, right? Mm-hmm. If they're chair flying, how do they chair fly without anxiety? Right. Well, there's that too simple to fail type stuff, right? You just go to the point where it starts to get you. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And then you take a break. Yeah. And then you go a little further.
Next time. Right. Yeah. I love that.
And then you just keep working that, and you can do it with all kinds of stuff. Yeah. In fact, people that are listening to this, there's going to be a bonus that I have a chair flying how-to
cool.
that they can go to my website and get. Yeah.
Right on. We'll get to that.
Yeah. So it goes into much more detail than what I just said, because it's more than just what I said. But
it's a lot of work. I mean,
it is.
You put in a ton of work for that to even be possible.
Did it every night for an hour. Think about it.
Well, I love that you said this. I'm a huge believer on both meditation and breathing and visualization. I'm huge on that with what I do. I do a lot of speaking events and things like that. Like even sitting here with you, I visualized this. Yeah. I did. I've been studying your stuff for months because it's been a while, because we were supposed to meet earlier. Anyway, that's another story. Yeah. But I visualized me talking to you. I mean, I'm talking to a hero here, in my opinion. I know you shrug your eyes and your shoulders, but I really do look at it that way. It's like, man, how do I honor this guy and what his message is? So I visualize that. So I just want you to know, and hopefully that will come through in this interview with you. But I think that's amazing. But I never knew that. I never heard the term chair flying.
It's a flying term, but I realize you can use it in every aspect of your life. Okay. And it really is like all those things blended. And it's just a good way to do it.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned earlier, we talked about PTSD and then PTSG, right? And one's growth, right? And it's kind of what you were in. Talk a little bit more about, here's the question I have, and then I want to get into more of the principles of your book, what you'd like to share. Can someone who is going through PTSD switch it over to the growth portion of it, where you grow from it, or does that not?
That's an excellent question, and honestly, it was a question I had.
Okay.
Right, and so when I first started going through this, I was like, well, it's there's enough out there for PTSD. I want to do the pre-TSD. Yeah, right. That's what I was calling it. Right.
Yeah.
And then I started doing this with his mental health professionals, and as we got through it, we started getting through it. It turns out that a lot of the things that you would do to prepare your mind, you can do to unwrap your mind too.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so to answer your question, it will work for both.
Wow.
It will.
That's
now,
awesome.
If the damage is already there, sometimes that reversing out is more difficult than preparing for.
Right.
Which is not unlike any kind of injury, right?
Yeah.
If I can avoid an injury, I'm going to be that much healthier. Once I have it and I have to rehab, it's going to take a little bit more, but you can get to where you're almost 100%. Right.
I love that. Yeah.
And so it's very similar. And all the principles apply to people who already have it versus, and a lot of us do. I mean, I'm not saying I don't have it at all, right?
Right.
Because that's just not realistic.
Sure.
Right. Now, am I able to function and does it actually serve as a foundation of who I am in a good way? It does.
Right.
It does. And I know people who have done some of these techniques, or all, I don't know if all, but some of them, and they've reversed their PTSD, and now it's a strength. It's a source of strength.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of your sayings is trauma doesn't have to kick your butt. In fact, it can make you stronger.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're saying, is that through that process, if you work on it, obviously put in the time and the effort, you can actually become stronger based on what you've been through. Is that accurate?
100%. I mean, it takes some grit. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But is it worth it? Absolutely. And you know why? You can deal with the trauma and have that damage just for the rest of life, or you can use that damage and turn it into a strength.
Right.
And that sounds a little cliche, but it works. And I credit it for who I am today.
Yeah.
And not saying that that's just this phenomenal thing, but I'm happy with who I am.
Yeah.
And I feel that I'm fairly mentally healthy.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Especially considering the stuff that I had to be a part of. Right.
No, I love that. Well, you mentioned your book has 7 principles that talks about how to actually get into that growth area. Do you want to maybe list off those 7 with us, and then maybe let's pick one that we can kind of maybe hash out and let's talk about?
Let's pick one right now,
okay.
and then I can go through. So the one that I start off with is building and maintaining a positive perspective, right?
Right.
Okay, we've heard that.
Yeah.
Right? Be positive.
Right. Be
Whether
positive.
where you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Right.
Yeah.
And those are true. Those are true statements. But to illustrate, I'll share a story of downrange.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is in the book. So here's bonus. Right?
Oh, right on.
Well, part of it might be, but I don't think the whole thing's in the book. So when we deployed, I was a lieutenant, which is basically a platoon leader at the time. I ended up being a company commander by the end. It was kind of this. It really was a journey from boy to man while I was there, like in a lot of different ways. But so I was the platoon leader, which is in Army, you got a company commander, and you usually have 2 platoon leaders that kind of are his henchmen, whatever you want to call it, right?
Right.
So I was the unit movement officer as well. So basically, I went ahead on what's called an advance party. We were supposed to go start to set up stuff for everybody else to come in and make it smooth, right? Well, there was me and two of my sergeants that came with me. And we were literally riding in the C-17, which is the giant cargo plane that our Apaches, 3 of them were folded up and inside of that plane, right?
Wow.
Giant plane.
Big plane.
Big plane. And they're all smashed in there. They're like sardines. Yeah. And we're in there, and I got a cot strung up underneath, because it's an 18-hour flight. We're just swinging,
Really?
Yeah, just flying. All of a sudden, red light goes on, and like, what, what's going on?
Yeah.
The kudos that were in my, those kudos bars. I had
yeah,
those.
Right.
Yeah, I had residual kudos. I jump up and I'm like, what's going on? They're like, hey, we're doing a tactical descent into Bagram, which is where we were going to land, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, so we're over enemy territory. The first time I'd ever been to war, so there was a lot of things going.
Oh my goodness!
I'm like, okay, cool.
I can't imagine.
Red light, tactical descent. What's that?
Yeah.
They're like, buckle up. I'm like, okay. So I buckle up, and the next thing you know, the plane's doing this, which I didn't know those big planes can move like that.
Yeah.
So I'm in there. I'm being held by my seatbelt. I'm like, I'm glad I buckled this thing.
Yeah.
And we're just going down.
Goodness. Oh my
Part of me thinks that they were just doing that because they're allowed to do it because we're in the country, but. Now that because I'm a pilot, I probably would have done the same thing, right? So we come down and
oh man,
I don't know what I was expecting, but when I pictured Afghanistan and war and theater, this is my first time going to war. When I pictured, and how many times in our lives is the first time doing something, right? You got this anxiety, this little bit of like, what's next, and do you step forward? What do you do? Well, we're committed. So we land in the back of the C-17. The back will open like it's like a clamshell, like kind of like
I've seen those in the movies and
right.
stuff. Yeah.
So we're in there. It's dark. We landed first thing in the morning. The sun was not up, but it was light. Like it was starting to get light. So we'd been in there with that dark and that red light, and our eyes were all dark adapted. So when that thing started, even though it wasn't bright outside, it was just like this piercing light.
Yeah.
And I'm like, trying to get. Adapted my pupils so you could see. And as they started to see, and the thing, it was kind of like right out of a movie, like, and it's like opening up to Afghanistan, right?
Yeah, man.
And I don't know what I was picturing, but it wasn't that. Because when it comes down, I'm from the Northwest. I'm here in Utah right now.
Yeah.
It's Rocky Mountains. That's what I see. Snow-covered Rocky Mountains, beautiful, majestic mountains.
Really?
And I'm like, I think I was picturing a crap hole,
Yeah.
And it was just beautiful, and I was like, huh, and then so we so we moved forward and got everything established. Next thing you know, I'm flying over these mountains on missions, on tactical missions, and you're looking for people to shoot that might shoot at you or whatever, but at the same time I'm like, man, I'd love to snowboard right there. That would be awesome. And that's amazing, and it's just this majestic view. And then we get a call, and our call sign was gunmetal. Gunmetal. We got a mission for you. Okay, send it. So they send the mission, and it's a tick. They call it troops in contact, which means our good guys are trading bullets with the bad guys at fast rates, right? They're switching them back and forth.
Yeah.
Right? And it usually means that the good guys are a little bit pinned down if they're calling us because they need more.
They need help.
They need more bullets to go the other way.
Right. Yeah.
And so we descend out of that majesty down into a tumultuous situation, right? And immediately the guy on the radio controller, he keys the mic, and you can hear it in his voice. He's out of breath. There's gunfire in the background. Gunmetal. We're taking fire. 120, 300 meters from our position. Can you suppress immediately? Right? And I'm like, yes, we can.
Right.
We got to help these guys. But first we got to develop this. We got to figure out where they're at. We got to figure.
Where are we shooting?
So he's giving me some direction. 120 from his position. I need in his position. So we get his position. We identify that. But we are in that fight. Right now we are focused on what's going on, and he's even more in the fight because he's down even lower. Right?
Yeah. Right.
I can't see him, but I can picture his head down. I can picture him. You can hear the guns, all that stuff.
Jeez.
And so we start engaging. And so how often in our life is that the case, right?
Yeah.
There's this beauty, there's everything, and then we come down in, and that's what we see. It's ugly, and it's fast, and it's furious. And in those moments, that's all you see. Yeah. That's all you know. But what's awesome is that picture, those mountains, the snow, all that, it's still there. It never changed.
Yeah.
There's nothing. It was exactly the same when we were down there trading fire as it was when we were up high. That picture was the big picture, right? And that doesn't change. This down here is finite, right?
Yeah.
This is something we're going through, and we might get some casualties, might get some scars, might get some damage done, but that's finite. It's going to be done. It's going to be over, and then we're going to come back up.
Yeah.
Right. So that's your big picture. That's your perspective, right? And the further you back up, the awesomer it gets. Now you back up. We're at 5,000 feet. You go to 30,000 feet. You start to see the curvature of the earth. You can go in all directions and just see beauty, right? I don't care if you're over the ugliest landscape on the planet. If you're at 30,000 feet, it's amazing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's amazing.
Yeah, right.
Then you go up even farther and you see the world, right? With the blue, the water, the clouds, the continent contrast. It's amazing. And guess what? No direction. No direction. There is no up. There is no down. There just is.
Wow.
And it's beauty.
Dang.
It's just beauty. And that's the big picture.
And the world looks peaceful.
Yes.
Right? But then like you said, when you come down into the down,
how many crazy things are happening on our planet right now?
Yeah.
Right now. And you and I are talking about this, right? The big picture is always there. Yeah. Those ugly things are finite. So how do we keep that in our mind's eye when we're in the middle of it, right?
Dang.
And that's what we kind of go into is like one of the principles is how to do that. And you know, I think almost anybody can look at their life and look backwards.
Right.
It's easier to look backwards than forwards.
For sure.
So you look backwards and you're like, what are the biggest growth moments I've had in my life, right? What are the biggest like wins or whatever? And everybody's got wins, whether you want to see them or not, you have wins, right?
Yeah, right.
And I get that some people's situations are way worse than others. I know that.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not discrediting that, but there's wins. There's always wins, right? And they almost always come after challenges, whether they're self-imposed challenges or they're just life kicking you challenges or even goals, which are our own challenges that we're setting, right?
Right. Yeah, right.
Once you get through that, that's where you get your growth.
Yeah.
Right. So you can see that and you can recognize that. You mean like so let's backplay that a little bit. That means when I'm in a challenge, that's just an opportunity.
Yeah.
That's happening.
Sure.
Like there's growth coming. I don't know how long it's going to take, but it's finite.
Yeah.
That big picture is still there, right? And it's not changing. And so that's where we get the statistics of suicide are just tragedy.
It is. Yeah.
But that's when you're in the gunfight.
Yeah.
And that's all you see.
It's all you can see.
All
you don't
you
think
see is that gunfight.
Man.
But that picture's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it takes practice.
I love that.
You know, it definitely takes practice, and it's not easy. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it can become easy.
Yeah.
And it does get, like when I was in junior high, I was big into sports. I'm like, I want to bench 2 plates, 225. I want that. That was the big weight.
Yeah.
But I was benching 1 plate at the time, 135.
Yeah. Right.
So we start doing that, and obviously it's hard, and it gets to 185, and then 200, then 225, then 285, then 300, then 378. I was at 378 and benching 225 20 times. 225 was easy then. I don't do that now. My chest would cave in. But
well, you still look like you could bench that easily.
but like it was easy then, right?
Yeah.
So that's how the positive perspective can get. We shoot for it, we go past it, and now it's part of our life.
Yeah, and then we go, oh, yeah, that's easy.
It's not that big a deal.
That's very good perspective. Thank you for sharing that. Wow, what a story.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. This is amazing.
I don't think that one was in the book.
Oh, so there's a bonus.
Yeah.
Man, I can't wait to get the full book of this. I cannot wait.
A lot of crazy stories in it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, okay, so what's another principle out of the book that you'd like to share? Why don't we do that and maybe another story, and then we can take it from there, if that's okay.
Cut here.
Yeah. No, you're good.
I want to read them as they are.
Please. Yeah, please do. Yeah, this is fascinating.
Somewhere in here. I got it. Because I have them listed on the web page.
Okay, just make sure you're in the mic when you're talking there.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that I list them how
they're. Yeah. Okay.
Is this it? Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'd already talked about one of the principles being building a positive perspective. The other ones are your practice chair flying, which we talked about a little bit as well.
Yeah.
The value of a higher cause, right? That's another one. And I'm not saying you got to be a super religious person or whatever, but having a higher cause that your values are based off of is important. It's important, right? And then building a healthy support system, which is a big part of what you do, which is a big part of the reason I wanted to do this with you, is because it does play into what we do. Like you build a healthy support system, because we're not here to do this alone.
Exactly.
We're community creatures.
We are, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah, it's so true.
And we don't do good in isolation.
Right.
So
no, we don't.
That one kind of dovetails right into what I was talking about earlier when I said define your honorable mission. You have an honorable mission. I think it's an honorable mission.
Yeah.
But we all have our honorable missions, right? And we have to define those so that we can get the oomph and the power behind it to say, this is part of my honorable mission. And that gives you the stay in power in there. And so that's the final one is that you, and this is a coping mechanism, I think, is people will hold on to hate. You got to release hate. You got to release hate, because if you hold on to hate, it's just a crippler. You can't move forward with that hate.
Yeah. Is that common in what you saw in your tours and stuff? Like, because, I mean, you're fighting, quote unquote, the enemy, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to, does it turn into hate at times? I don't know. Because I'm clueless on this. That's why I'm asking the question.
It's a great question. And absolutely, that's how some people cope with it, right?
Yeah.
If I got to kill somebody,
and
once you do, that's your job. And in the Apache, that's almost 100% your job.
Right. That's what you do. Yeah.
How do you come to terms with that? Right. And it's not an easy thing to come to terms with. And there's healthy ways to do it, and then there's unhealthy ways to do it. Yeah. And one of the unhealthy ways to do it is hate who you're shooting at. Yeah. Right. If I can hate that guy, then it's easier for me to pull the trigger. Yeah. It's easier for me to pull the trigger, but every time I pull that trigger, I'm getting a bigger stab at me, because it's hate. Right. Yeah. And so it's a damaging way to cope with that difficult thing you have to deal with.
For sure.
But that's not unlike things outside of the military either.
Yeah. Right.
Right. We end up hating things to cope with things, or turning to chemical abuse or other addictions. And it's just, there's healthy ways to cope with things, and there's unhealthy.
Well, I often say that with my clients, I'll say, resentment breeds rebellion. Resentment's a form of hate. Right. If I resent this or you or this organization, then I'm going to go rebel and blow up my life because of that. And that's right. Yeah. And it's like, so we have to resolve that. And ultimately, that's kind of what I'm hearing you say, is we have to resolve the hate and not hold on to that. And so what are some of the things that you do to do that? And maybe what some of the things you shared in your book?
So one of with hate, the easiest way to get rid of hate is to foster gratitude. Gratitude and hate cannot exist in the same plane. Right. It just can't. I mean, try to do it. Yeah. Right. Try and stay angry at something that you hate, and then at the same time think of things that you're grateful for. Yeah. They can't exist on the same plane. Right. Right. So if you foster a habit of gratitude, then you can eliminate hate. Yeah. One thing I do with my son, I'm a single dad, which is my favorite job that I have. Right. Yeah, right. And I have full custody of my 10-year-old son. He is adopted and is African American, right? And I got him when he was wet. So day one I've had him, right? Sure. But we do this thing, and it's to build gratitude, and you can learn so much from kids.
I know. Yeah.
And so we do this thing on the way to school every day. We call it grateful, right? And you have to come up with 3 things that you're grateful for and why. Yeah. Why are you grateful for these things? Yeah. And you can't repeat, right? Like, so now granted, we've been doing this for years, so I'm sure we've repeated.
So you repeated a few things, but that's all right.
But we can't remember them all. Right. But it was around February. It was just, I think, is that when Martin Luther King Day is February, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so it was during that holiday, and they were talking about that at school. Well, obviously, he has a connection to that, being African American, and I don't have that same connection. But I understand it. Do I? And here's what was awesome. He goes, "Hey, buddy." He's always called me buddy since day one. I don't know why, but he doesn't call me dad. He calls me buddy. I think it was because I called him buddy, and he called it back.
That's awesome.
And I just never corrected him. And people were like, "Why does your kid call you buddy?" I just never corrected him. But he's like, "Hey, buddy, you heard of Martin Luther King?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've heard of him." He's like, he did some amazing stuff. I said, "Yeah, he certainly did. He changed the world." I said, he did. And he goes, he gave a pretty cool speech. I said, "I did know that." Yeah. He goes, "Can we listen to it?" And I'm like, driving. I'm like, yeah, let's begin it up real quick. So
yeah,
I bring it up, and he's
Oh
at this point he's 6. He's 10 now, but this happened when he was 6
years old, and he's saying this.
6 years, and
Wow.
he lived from the plains of Mississippi. He goes through it, and
Yeah.
he goes, "That was awesome." I was like, "Sure was," and he goes, "Can I listen to it again?" We got a 30-minute drive, so I'm like, "Yeah, listen to it
let's
again."
do it again. Yeah.
And so he listens to it again. He goes, "Can we do Grateful now?" I was like, "Yeah, certainly." And he goes, "I'm grateful for Martin Luther King." I said, "Okay, why? You got to say why."
Yeah.
He goes, "Because of what he did, I can be your son." And I tear up. I still tear up.
Yeah, you're tearing me up.
Yeah.
I didn't expect you to say that.
No, and I was like, dude, you just taught me something today. I've always been grateful for him,
Sure.
but not at that personal of event, and not in my life. And I said, I'm grateful for him now too, in a better way. So gratitude begets gratitude.
Yeah.
Even from the youngest kid, and hate begets hate.
Yeah. So true. Wow.
And they can't exist on the same plane. So we can do things where we practice gratitude, where we build gratitude. And even if it's something as simple as 3 gratefuls a day.
Wow.
And it can change your life. It changed mine with a 6-year-old.
Dude, it's changing my life just hearing you talk about it.
Yeah.
Seriously, like, props to Axel.
He's awesome.
That is amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. Like you said, we can learn so much from kids.
Yeah.
It's almost like we had it figured out when we were kids, and then we somehow forget all of it when we get older. Right.
Kids don't stress as much.
Yeah,
they're starting to because we're teaching them to.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But we're teaching them that. Like, I don't think kids used to stress as much as they do now.
No, not even close. Wow, man, that is amazing. There's so much I want to talk to you about. I could sit here all day with you, but obviously there's a ton we could talk about your book and stuff. Before we get to maybe closing comments, part of your book, you have the Invictus poem.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay if I ask you to read it for our listeners?
Sure.
Do you mind?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't write this poem. But.
I know you didn't, but I think this kind of talks about and it almost describes what you have gone through in your, over your 1,000 combat missions.
Okay. Can we pause it?
Yes.
Can we print this bigger? What do you got? 2.5s?
See if that helps.
Oh, that helps a ton. All right.
Yeah. And we don't need to pause at all because guess what? We're just being real here.
Yeah, 100%.
I just, so you guys don't know, I just gave him my readers and now he can see it.
Yeah. That happened like 3 years ago. I had 20/15 vision for years.
Yeah. And then yeah, it's funny how quickly it goes. So anyway, so he's got my glasses. You look really good, by the way.
Thank you. I'm bringing sexy back.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, here we go.
Invictus. Out of the night that covers me, black as a pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond the place of wrath and tears looms but horror of the shade. And yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
It's beautiful.
I love it.
Thank you for sharing that. And I wanted you to read it because that's in your book. And yeah, dude, that describes you and what you've done, because these principles that you're talking about in your book, they really do help someone become the master of themselves.
That's the intent, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, because it's not just about anyone who's ever been in the service of our country.
No.
It's for someone like me. It's for someone who's struggling with addiction, or it's for some kid who's trying to find his way, and all that. It's a broad scope of everyone needs to read this book.
That's the intent. It's a war story.
Yeah.
But it's not intended for just warriors.
But it teaches the principles.
It is intended for warriors. We're all warriors.
Well, we're and what I get from this is we're built for this. We're built for this life, no matter what we go through. I mean, you're not necessarily as a kid we're trained to go to war, But once you started, going through that process, you got to a point, like you said, it got easier, and you were able to do these things, the chair flying, and looking at the positives and things like that. And again, not holding on or giving into hate anymore and that kind of stuff, man. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
I always say, you got to share your story, because you don't know if your story is the key to someone else's lock.
Wow.
Love
it.
And I've seen that now, and I'm like, when I've seen it, it gives you joy. And that's why I was like, I got to do it. I got to put it in a book.
If someone wants to get your book and they want to maybe even know more about you and contact you after listening to this, what would be the best way for them to do that?
What I just said, right? Share your story. I'd love to hear their stories, all stories too. So if you want to do that, you can email me at brian@clearedhot.info. But if you want to get the book, it's going to be on Amazon, but you can also go to clearedhot.info and order it there. And there's other stuff about the book, and that's where you would get the chair flying thing.
Love it. Yeah.
It'll be a code. It'll be Todd. Todd will be the code.
We'll put Todd as the code for the chair flying.
Right.
Breakdown. Okay, love that. Code Todd. Love that. One last question for you, Brian, and I hate to even end this, man. I could just talk all day with you. But if there's someone listening to your voice right now who's struggling, they're in a dark place. You've already shared some very powerful principles, but what's one thing you could tell that person right now who's in that dark place?
Honestly, that they're in the gunfight. What we talked about.
Yeah.
You are in the gunfight, but those mountains are there. Those mountains are there.
Yeah.
Just know that those mountains are there. And if you feel alone, we are not, like we said, we're not creatures that deal well in isolation. You got to reach out.
Yeah.
You're not going to, if you're that dark in despair, you have to talk to somebody. And there's people who care. There's people like this organization and other organizations if you don't have family and friends, because not everybody does.
Right.
Not everybody does. They're like, oh, talk to your family and friends. Not everybody has family and friends. But we as humanity care enough that there are organizations.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
well, there's you. They can reach out to you and talk to you.
Absolutely.
They can reach out to me.
Yes.
Even if I don't know you, I'll still talk to you.
100%.
I know you would too, Brian.
Yes.
Right? That's just the guy you are.
Yep. You are in the gunfight, but the gunfight is finite.
Wow. Amazing stuff. Well, Brian, I can't thank you enough for taking some time and sharing some of your life with us and some of those experiences. And again, that video you shared with me, dude, took my heart away, dude. I couldn't even imagine being in that Apache helicopter at that time. So
you know what? I'm going to throw that on there too. So when they go to do the chair flying, they can get access to that video too.
Oh, right on. That'd be awesome. Yeah. I think it's worth watching. Again, it ends well, so everyone just know that. But it puts in perspective of what Brian and his co-pilot were going through at the time and how he had to use these principles and these tools in that moment. Wow. And I love the visualization and the meditation piece of it. I think that's huge. So, but anyway, I know you don't like to hear this, but you're a hero. I'm grateful we have people like you that live in our country who are willing to stand up and protect us. And I just want you to know that. And anyone listening to this, I'm sure feels the same way. So thank you for your service and all that you do for us. I
appreciate that. And I appreciate the time. And hopefully we can give something to your audience to help them.
Absolutely. And anyone listening to this right now, go get his book. Go pre-order it. It's going to be available on the 18th. It's going to be amazing. I've already read the first chapter and I was blown away. It's going to be one of those ones that it's a must read. So please get it. If you have anyone who's struggling in your life, share the link to this episode of Brian and let them listen to him personally, and then follow up with him. It'll give you a good way to break the ice. I like to do that a lot.
Hit me up on
and
that.
Then hit him up.
Yeah.
He wants to hear your story, so please do. So anyway, thank you again, Brian, and everyone for tuning in. Thank you. I love you guys, and until next time.
All right. Awesome.
All right. Take care.
Cool.